The gardener reveals they are attempting to resurrect Leora, a past bride whose spirit is trapped in the grave roses their experiments are corrupting Nachtmar, the greenhouse. The amber light came through fractured stained glass like something wounded. It bled across the stone floor in shards of color, rust and gold and the green of old copper, painting Isolde's path as she moved deeper into the greenhouse. Dust motes hung in the shafts of pale moonlight that cut through the oppressive warmth clinging to her skin, each particle catching the glow like a trapped star. The air tasted of decay and roses, not the fresh sweetness of a garden in bloom, but something cloying, something that had died weeks ago and been left to rot in a closed room. It coated her tongue, lingered in her nostrils. She could feel it on her skin like a film. The vines came first, thick, gnarled things that twisted up the glass walls and across the iron frames of the greenhouse chambers. But these weren't the delicate climbing roses she'd seen in the upper gardens. These were grotesque, their petals black as dried blood, their thorns weeping a luminous sap that caught the fractured light and gleamed like tears, and beneath it all, a sound, not quite a whisper, not quite a voice, that seemed to emanate from the flowers themselves. Leora, Leora, Leora. The gardener knelt before a massive rose bush at the chamber's center, his long black coat spreading across the broken glass and vine-choked floor like spilled ink. His fingers traced the gnarled bark with the tenderness of a lover, and the thorns beneath his touch seemed to recoil, as if even the corrupted flowers recognized something wrong in him. Leora, the roses still whisper your name. His voice was soft, almost reverent. I can feel their thorns reaching for me, begging me to complete what was begun. Isolde stepped forward, her boot crunching on shattered glass. The sound echoed through the chamber. The gardener's head lifted, but he didn't turn. Instead, he pressed his palm flat against the largest bloom, and where his skin met the black petals, something flickered, a sigil on his chest, visible through the fabric of his shirt. It pulsed faintly, like a second heartbeat. A shimmer moved through the roses. At first, Isolde thought it was the light playing tricks through the warped glass. Then the form coalesced, translucent, wavering, woven from petals that clung to her like a shroud. Leora's ghost drifted upward from the flowers, her pale eyes, moonstone pale, fixing on the gardener with something that might have been anguish. You would drag me back from the peace I have found, Leora said, to suffer again in this cursed place? Her form shimmered, and as it did, the petals fell away for just a moment, revealing what lay beneath, the skeletal structure of something that had been dead far longer than it should have been. Then the flowers reasserted themselves, and she was whole again, almost beautiful, except for the thorns that seemed to grow through her translucent flesh. The gardener rose to his feet, moving with the fluid grace of something that had forgotten it was supposed to be human. He turned to face the ghost directly, and Isolde caught the hunger in his eyes, not the hunger of a man, but something older, something that fed on desperation and decay. Peace? His laugh was brittle. There is no peace for you, not while your spirit is trapped in these dying blooms. I can mend what is broken, restore what was lost. He pressed a cold hand to his chest where the sigil pulsed brighter. For just a moment Isolde saw it clearly, a mark that didn't belong to any natural magic she recognized. It belonged to something else, something that fed on resurrection attempts the way a fire fed on wood. Leora glided closer, petals swirling around her form like a dark halo. The movement was graceful, but it was also desperate. The motion of something drowning, reaching upward for air it could no longer breathe. "And what of Nachtmar?" Leora's voice cracked. "Do you not see how your folly corrupts it, twists the very magic that sustains us?" The gardener's arms spread wide as if to embrace the entire garden. The roses seemed to lean toward him, their luminous sap dripping onto the stone floor where it hissed and smoked. Nachtmar will flourish under our touch, the power we will wield, the life we will create. He turned and his gaze swept across the greenhouse. past the jars on the shelves, past the faded portraits whose painted eyes seemed to track his movement, past the massive ornate glass case at the chamber's heart where grave roses writhed and twisted in an endless tormented dance. It will be beyond anything imagined. Isolde's hand went to her chest. The petal burn there had grown worse, spreading like frost across her ribs. The magic was eating at her from the inside, she realized, each breath feeling like drawing in cold. At what cost, gardener? Leora reached toward him, her translucent fingers extended. Your soul, the souls of all who dwell here. She touched his burning skin, and where her cool, ghostly hand made contact, steam rose. The gardener shuddered, but he didn't pull away. Instead, he pulled her close, his lips nearly brushing her pale cheek. His voice dropped to something barely above a whisper. For you, Leora, I would sacrifice all, your touch, your essence. It is the only thing that makes this world bearable. The obsession in his voice was absolute, complete. It was the voice of a man who had long since stopped being a man at all. Isolde stepped back, her eyes moving to the ornate glass case at the chamber center. The candles surrounding it flickered, and in their dancing light she could see the grave roses more clearly now. They weren't just flowers, they were thrashing, as if in pain, and beneath the glass something stirred, something that was either a shadow or something far worse. The gardener's voice cracked, almost human, for just a moment. Leora died before the Lord claimed me. Her spirit was trapped in the earth, and I have spent years coaxing her back through these flowers. Each bloom brings her closer to waking. He touched one of the grave roses tenderly, and it seemed to lean toward him, its black petals opening like a mouth. Isolde forced herself to speak. And Nachtmar, what does he have to do with this? The gardener turned to face her fully, and she saw something like shame flicker across his features. It was quickly swallowed by hunger again, but it had been there. The Lord feeds on the resurrection, he said quietly. Each attempt to pull her back corrupts him further. He grows hungrier, more fractured, but I cannot stop, not while she remains trapped. Leora's form flickered, and in that moment of transparency, Isolde could see the truth of it written in the ghost's expression. The gardener wasn't trying to free her. He was trapping her deeper with every ritual, every bloom he coaxed from the grave roses. And whatever the unburied one was, wherever he dwelt, he fed on that endless cycle of attempted resurrection, growing more powerful and more fractured with each failure. The air in the greenhouse seemed to thicken. Isolde could feel it pressing against her skin, could feel the petal burn on her chest beginning to spread. The gardener's hands clenched into fists, and the roses around them began to writhe faster, their luminous sap dripping like blood onto the broken glass below.